Hello everybody and welcome back to Showverse. My name is Haley and today I'll be taking you through the Arrowverse, specifically Constantine Season 1, and the only season because nothing good can last and it must all be taken from us. If you can't tell, I very much like Constantine, but this will contain spoilers for the entirety of Season 1 of Constantine, and a little tiny bit at the end for the Arrow, and then I think Legends of Tomorrow, but the whole Arrowverse. If you need a catch up on the Arrowverse and don't feel like spending an ungodly amount of time catching up on all the shows, just check back on our YouTube page. I have Arrowverse things, the whole thing up to now. Cool? Awesome. So let's talk about Constantine, specifically John Constantine. We open up Season 1, Episode 1, with John being electrocuted in a mental institution, which is a great way to start a season, I guess. Guess it gets you to know the character pretty well. He's in therapy, and he is trying to forget a 9-year-old named Astra that he could not save. We see he's in, the Scrubs full TV mental institution where everyone's crazy and, they assume people are dangerous and stuff. While he's in group, we see a cockroach on the floor, and he decides to get up and follow it. And he follows it to a room. It appears to be an art room. There's easels everywhere. And a woman drawing on the walls with blood. Seemingly possessed. And he's like, no, this isn't my problem. I'll just leave. It's fine. And it does the thing where they leave frame, and then they come on back, and he exorcises the demon right then and there. And we finally look up to see what she's actually writing, and it was live, die, Livdie, live, die, on the walls. And then we smash cut to a girl named Liv. Weird coincidence. She's leaving work, and while she's trying to back out, she has one of those back cameras that lets you know when there's something you're going to run into, and it keeps detecting something, but there's nothing in the camera. She can't really find anything, so she checks the car, and then it revs and shuts off, and she's like, well, all right, gotta head to the bus stop. And while she's trying to walk there, the parking lot rips open and fire just emits out of it. And John shows up. So we I don't know how he got there. They don't tell us how he got there. But that's fine. He shows up and gives her a business card, since she doesn't seem to be very conversational at the moment. And Liv leaves. I don't know how you experience this and then just leave. Or maybe she's fully just trying to be like, no, none of this matters. Just run. But we see a man with wings, who he later explains his name is Manny. And I assume to be an angel. And I quickly get that assumption verified. He's indeed an angel. And he's talking to John, saying that that Manny has been tasked with watching over John, and that something's coming, and he's trying to get John's help to deal with the something. The thing that's coming. This unknown entity or power or something that is coming. John's like, give me a second. And we see Liv going to her apartment. She heads in, and then a man draws an Egyptian protection sigil on her door and lines it with salt. A bunch of salt on the floor. A demon, I assume. I don't think it's fully explained what it is. I assume demon, because we kind of see through its sight, and it sees the door and its protection sigil and its salt, and it goes next door to her friend Talia and kills her instead. Because, you made the trip. You might as well at least do something. And Constantine finds her at work the next day to let her know that he apparently knows her dad, which she's like, neat, I didn't, so that's doesn't really and similarly to her dad, he explains that she is starting to see lost souls because she's been seeing weird people walk around that, like, when she turns around they disappear, and some of them aren't always in the best of shape. He says those are lost souls. They're just kind of stuck around because that they're just around always, I guess. And John's like, I need to take you somewhere safe because stuff's happening and I need you to be safe right now. And while they're heading there, they get smacked by a car. They're able to just make it out in time before, you know how well, I can't remember if it blows up. I'm gonna be honest. It's been a hot second since I've actually watched the first episode, but I do know they very least they make it out. They are alive. In movies, I know a lot of times the car explodes, but I don't think it did this time. But they are able to get out, and John's visited by the angel again, and he's trying to figure out what's happening. Manny's trying to figure out what's happening so that he can help from above. The good old Lord. And John's very upset at Manny, and I think is getting a little annoyed that he keeps getting these visits because the angels damned John. And we get like flashbacky exposition that when John's mom was giving birth to him, she died. And so John's father drank every night, blamed John for the death, would come home, punch John in the head, and say, that's what you did. That's for what you did to your mom, Killer. We'd call him Killer, which was his nickname for John. And then in like college and stuff, John started learning about the occult, and in order to save up for one day to be able to like meet her, to like get enough power or enough knowledge to see if he can meet her in some way or bring her back from the dead, preferably. But that's probably not the best. Liv decides to leave. We don't know if she's leaving and like fully running away from the spiritual life, or if she's gonna go just do her own shit away from John, because I guess her dad died during that, when the 9-year-old died, or died because of that. Like, I think we get later that he was like racked with guilt, and so he ended up dying. But either way, she leaves, but before she does, she scries over a map of the United States. So they have a map, and she has this pendant, and a drop of blood lands on a bunch of spots that say that you'll be able to use this to figure out when shit's about to happen. And you can go to the drop spot and take care of it. And then we never see Liv again. And I want to know why. Why did we introduce this character to then scry on a map and then never show up again in the rest of the show? What was the point of that? You couldn't figure something else out for this character to do? Was she going to come back in later seasons? I don't know. All I know is that she left. And now we have a map of plot convenience. I love maps of plot convenience. They're great. They keep the plot moving. At the very end, John agrees with Manny to help fight whatever is coming. He'll help the angels, and maybe even his soul maybe gets saved. Probably not, though. I think I'm projecting. And we see a woman obsessively drawing John. She's actively like drawing, and then on the walls there's like she's a big sketch pad. She's obviously like some kind of artist. And there's pictures of John from like other angles and like full body portraits, just everywhere. John. And that's just where we end episode 1. So we had a woman come in, give us a plot convenient map, and then leave. Now we have a new woman who's just obsessively drawing John, and we don't know who she is. Go to episode 2. Don't even worry about it. The map that Liv used to scry on, the blood drops, they're dried most of the time. But whichever one activity is happening at, it will get wet again. So you just have to watch the paper and see which one gets wet. John begins investigating where the first drop is wet at. It's a small mining town. And he runs into the girl that was drawing him at the end of episode 2. She's here. Her name is Zed. Z-E-D. Zed. He at first thinks she's like a con artist. Like, oh, you just sit up in like your thing and you quick draw somebody and then you come down and you're like, I know you, and or try to sell the thing or whatever con you're trying to do. But she's like, no. I'm not a con man. I've been seeing visions and like having feelings that don't make sense. And part of the visions are you. And that's why I have drawing of you. Because she brought one down to be like, what is happening here? You're in my drawings. This is not... John ends up using her ability to get like visions of what's happening in town. And it's a Welsh spirit. I'm not going to go super into the Monster of the Week parts. Mainly because there's so much mythology in him. Like a lot of them are based in mythology. And I don't want to fully explain all of that when there's only one season. And we're already how long into this video? Because I can't stop talking. But don't worry, you'll probably see there's a lot more still to come. But I'm going to kind of avoid the Monster Week and try to focus on important characters and the overall arc. Just so you're warned at this point. Yeah, there's a mining town. There's a Welsh spirit that he uses Zed's visions. He uses Zed's visions to be able to figure out that it's that, and uses his occult knowledge to take care of, his job. Oh, I forgot to mention in episode 1 when they were in that car crash, there was actually a third person in the car. That was Chaz. He can't die. That's important because he's in the whole season, but I forgot to mention because I think I was just surprised that there was a character that can't die so early on in the show. But he can't die. He comes back. He actually technically he dies during that car accident, and then he just kind of shows up again. And John's like, yeah, whatever. In episode 2, John is telling Chaz about Zed, and they're like, well, that's crazy. And in episode 3, Zed shows up at the hideout and elbows her way into the quest of episode 3, which is like, it opens up with a woman in an abandoned building. There's a bunch of dead animals, and I don't know if that was trying to hint that it was a place of some kind of ritual, or if it was just supposed to show that it was abandoned. I don't know, but there's a lot of dead animals there. And she pulls a brick out of the wall, and there's like a little... When you record a record, they're small, they're like little, like this, and then they copy them onto the bigger ones, and she has a little one, takes it to a dude and is like, don't listen to this, but I need to go do something and I'll be back, but don't listen to this. So obviously, what's the first thing he does? Everyone, make your guesses. He listens to it, obviously. What else are you gonna do? And he dies because something in it, because it's like haunted and something in it kills him. And once again, Zed's visions help solve the case and get the right things on track. So, it was a good thing she elbowed her way onto the thing, onto the trip. Also in episode 3, we meet Papa Midnight, which is a voodoo man who John is kind of butts heads with occasionally because Papa Midnight sells his services a lot and plays a little looser with some parts of the occult, and that makes John upsetty spaghetti. So we meet him. He's an important character. He comes back, but we get to see the first inklings of who he is. In episode 4, it's another demon, and they handle that. But Constantine, John, uses this as a good way to kind of have Zed work on controlling her powers more. So they work on honing in. They focus a little bit more about stopping and giving her a second and trying to like talk her through how to control these visions. And John is also having to like figure out, okay, what is it that I have to do in this battle? Like, am I going to have to sacrifice stuff? And if so, what? But that's the majority of this is like focusing on Zed and her visions and getting those figured out because they're now fully working together. And Constantine, doing the stuff where they're like, how much am I willing to sacrifice for the whole world and whatever. By this point, by the way, I was really feeling those like early episodes of Supernatural vibes, and I missed those feelings, and I loved it. This show is so good. I'm kind of glossing over a lot of things because if I get too ingrained, I'm gonna get really angry like I did when I watched the final episode because it's really good and this show shouldn't have been canceled. That's the biggest part. I was just, why is it canceled? Why did it have to do that? Anyway, but yeah, if you really like early episodes of Supernatural or like, I'm assuming Buffy. I didn't watch Buffy as a kid. I'm sorry. And now I have so much media I'm trying to keep up on. I don't have time to watch Buffy, and I'm really sorry. But I heard it's very Monster of the Week, at least in the beginning. So if you liked those, and definitely early Supernatural, you really like this season of TV. You'll just be angry, like I was, when you get to the end of it. Because there's not more. And that's rude, truly. Episode 5. Zed is now psychically linked with the map. Neato. She's able to tell when the dots have become wet again before everyone else, and she's able to get like a general idea of what's going on there before they even get there, which beyond helpful. The plot conveniences keep coming. We love to see it. Let's get through that nonsense and just get our protagonist to the thing. I want to see him do the stuff. Let's get him, all that. Get him to the things that they're fighting and they're working with. And Papa Midnight is back. And what's happening in this town is he's raising the dead. Unintentionally, supposedly. I don't know if I believe that he doesn't know what he was doing, but he says he doesn't. And he has been raising the dead for people. Then, after Papa Midnight helps unraise this dead, like he raises, there's like a handful of people that he raises. He helps the team put them all back. Get them back down. So he uses that same power to ask his dead sister about the rising darkness because, she's dead. She's in the underworld already. Maybe she can be of some help. She says the darkness is coming, heralded by someone close to you who will betray you. He does this for Constantine. So this is who. Guys, actively just now while describing this, I forgot that's what the vision said, and now the end of the end of the season makes more sense, and it was foreshadowed, so this show just got better. Actively just now, because I forgot the vision, or I forgot the whole message from the sister, and the whole just makes sense. They straight up fucking said it, and I didn't listen. So she says to John that somebody close to him will betray him. Neat. We'll revisit that at the end. Literally just now. I just realized that was the thing. Wow, this show is even better than I thought it was. Watch the show. If you haven't watched this and you're just watching this episode so you can get on to the rest of the Arrowverse, this is just one season. Please watch the show. It's so good. Back to this. In episode 7, they're dealing with a preacher who almost dies, and after his near-death experience, he is able to actually heal his congregation and, like, perform real feats of miracle. John and Zed go check it out with Manny constantly watching. And they're able to figure out that, like, the preacher pulled a feather off of the angel's wing that was, like, trying to bring him to heaven, crashing her down to earth. And, like, so he's been using the feather magic. And, like, that's how he's gotten this magic. We assume unintentionally. I don't see how he would know how to do this to get this power. They are able to find the feather. Because he still has it, obviously. Because when you come back from the dead and you randomly have a feather on you now, that's important. You keep that with you. If you're a person that would just throw that feather away, don't do that. Keep that with you. That's probably important. I don't care if you almost died because a bird hit something in front of you or something. Keep the feather. They get the feather back. And they had found the angel, which John can see her. No! John can't see her. Zed can see her. John can't. So Zed's, like, trying to help her because she's, like, hunched over and, like, getting sick, and she's actively dying throughout the whole episode. And she's, like, stuck in a barn. And so they bring the feather back, and we find out that she wasn't just a regular angel. She was a fallen angel. So, and that this man hadn't actually just, like, oops, stolen a feather. He had been given the feather after this fallen angel had made him think he was at the gates of heaven so that she could be down there. And she's evil. By the way, this whole time Manny's been like, this woman is in, like, grave danger. Please get this fucking feather and bring her back. Because she looked like a good angel. But the second that feather went in, her, like, wings went black and everything. Like, it was an intense transformation. And the angel starts trying to kill Zed. And I don't fully remember why. I just know that she's trying to kill Zed specifically. And Manny actually helps for once. Once in his goddamn life. Because for the most part, angels aren't supposed to intervene in the world down here where we are. And so a lot of the times he's just like, I wish I could help John, but, like, I can't do anything. I could give you, like, baby hints that might lead you into the right thing, but who knows? And he was getting on my goddamn nerves, especially in this one where he's like, fucking figure it out. I'm just gonna sit here. He actually helps for once. Amazing. Helps him get away from the angel and, like, takes her back to the place, the heaven, I'm assuming. That's where angels are from. And it just made me happy that he actually did something for once. In this one, in this episode, we also are introduced to the fact that Zed is, 1, not her name. 2, she's on the run, and she's been in hiding for quite some time. And we find out in episode 7, we're on episode 7 now, that the people chasing Zed are called the Resurrection Crusade. We don't know much else about them yet. I, weirdly enough, didn't put it in my notes more about them. They're the cult she grew up in. Her dad is the leader of, it's a cult. And when she started showing signs of psychic abilities, he closed her in even more than regular cult life would lead you to be closed in on, and was, like, trying to train her to be the, I guess, next Messiah or something. You know, he's not right in the head, this man who's running a cult. Especially when you believe your own cult stuff. You're probably not. So episode 8 and 9 are a 1 and 2-parter episode. They get a call from a nun named Anne Marie that we find out she used to run with John until the 9-year-old thing. The 9-year-old from episode 1 they talked about, that's continuously brought up throughout the show, by the way. Whenever John's talking about his past, he's like, 9-year-old. When that happened, she left and became a nun. And she's down in Mexico City. And they are trying to figure out, there's a demon situation happening down there. A child's firstborn, or a man's firstborn kind of shit. There's a demon. They take care of the initial demon. They're down in the sewers. John's fighting a creature. He's about to die. So he welcomes a different demon into... He summons one and is like, go ahead, take this body for a joyride in order to save his life. Interesting decision. So Chaz, Zed, and Anne-Marie now have to try to get this fucking demon out of John before he becomes too strong and he can't be saved. John also gets arrested during this episode. So they have to not only get a demon out of him, they have to break him out of prison in Mexico City. Anne-Marie can do this thing where she can like make you see things differently. She has a little bit of a power, and she has to use that a couple times to be like, look over there, there's a person, and like it's her over there doing things, but it's not. She's over here. And they have to do that. She has the distraction of herself naked, like, oh, I need something, while they're loading John's body into a car so they can get out. It's an episode. I really like this episode. I like what it does. It's just, that's a weird part, you know? Things happen. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to get the demon out of your friends. They do. They make it. They get the demon out, which is great. And the crew head on back to the US of A. In episode 10, we find out that Zed has been on the run from some people because, surprise, surprise, Zed, not her real name. And she's on the run from a cult known as the Resurrection Crusade. They're a cult she grew up in. Her dad is actually the leader of it. And, like, he's been keeping her hostage, more or less, through all of her childhood, especially when she was showing signs of like early psychic ability. Then she escaped. She changed her name to Zed, and she'd been successfully staying away, but these guys found her and they get all up in her shit, and they even find their way into the hideout that John has, like, which is insane because it's mega locked, but they get in. And don't worry, this won't be resolved because there's no season 2. So this was just a plot thread that just exists that we all have to deal with. Anyway, the Monster of the Week part of this episode is actually kind of important because we learn about Chaz, that beautiful man who cannot die. So there's some type of mysterious coma that people are dropping into, including Chaz's daughter. So obviously, they gonna figure some shit out, even though the mom, not a big fan about the fact that Chaz works with John on this stuff, but when we find out how Chaz got this way, it makes sense. So we find out long ago. We don't fully know where this fits in the timeline. I believe this happens before the 9-year-old incident where she died. But it's not super clear on where exactly this falls. But one night, Chaz and Constantine are at a bar. Constantine's like super drunk, and Chaz is like, you gotta get the fuck out of here. But I'm gonna stay and hang out because I'm not too drunk to function. And Constantine puts a protection spell on him to make sure he gets home safe, to make sure Chaz gets home safe. He didn't realize how powerful he was making it because he was drunk off his ass, and the bar burns down. The bar they're in is kind of underground. It's one of the ones you kind of have to go down a couple steps. And it burns down, and Chaz absorbed the lives of the 47 people that died in the burning. So every time he dies, he's using up a soul that he has in him. And he started out with 47. And they find the guy who has caused this mysterious coma that his daughter has. But you can see why Chaz's wife isn't super happy about the fact that Chaz and Constantine hang out, because, like, they wouldn't be in this if Constantine hadn't done that. But also, Chaz might have been dead if they weren't friends with Constantine. So, I'm not going to choose sides on this particular issue because it feels a little complicated. But they find the guy who's put these people in comas, including Chaz's daughter. And it turns out he's like an old, wizardy, warlocky man. And he's using them as power to make him stronger. He used to be like the sidekick to a dude, and now he wants to be super strong and the main dude. So Chaz promises to give him the 32 souls that are left inside of him. He started with 47, he's at 32 now. He says, I will give you all of these souls, and all you have to do, drop the shit. Stop this. And so they are about to shake hands, which will seal the deal. And Chaz puts on a thing on the man that paralyzes him. And then Chaz drops a grenade at their feet. So Chaz and this mage, dead. Just dead. But, Chaz didn't complete the thing, so he still has those 32 souls. Now 31, because he's used one of them. But when a mage dies, all their spells reverse. So now all the soul energy he was seeping from these people who were in a coma all goes back to them. It reverses. Everyone's good. But, like, what a way to end a problem. Just fucking drop a grenade at your feet because you're gonna survive. That was like, I loved it. I never knew what was gonna come next in this episode. Constant, like, what's happened? Whoa, we're about to lose Chaz? No, and then he just drops a grenade. And it was kind of funny, being honest. Because, like, again, what a way to solve a problem. Love it. So, he's still got 31 souls. His daughter's fine. Wife's happy that the kid isn't dead. You know how things go. In episode 11, John goes to help his friend, who now works at Ivy University. Well, technically, Manny sends him to go help his friend at Ivy. But they go there and help his friend, who is now a professor. Because there's some kids that have been going missing and dying. They've been fucking around with the occult, and so he has to help his old buddy because his buddy's now a professor at this university, and the students are in his class. They found a way to get into an alternate dimension that is occupied by one person, a serial killer, who has made this little house, and he traps people there, and he kills them, and he resets them, and then they try to run away again, and then he kills them, and he does it again and again and again and again and again, and you're stuck there for the rest of your life. But John's able to get there, and his friend, Richie, is able to overpower the killer. In this universe, you use your own mind to mess with it. So he's able to overpower the killer's mind and kind of take over. And John's able to get everyone out, but Richie stays to keep the killer contained. So he'll be there constantly fighting this killer mentally forever now. And we go back to our world, and his body is just, empty now. He's gone. And it's another one where John has to, grapple with the fact that when that 9-year-old died, a lot of lives were affected, and, his friends, and Another banger. And then the next episode here is a lot of hospital stuff. So the thing of the week happens at a hospital, but also Zed has a health scare, and so she's in the hospital. She's what initially brings them to the hospital. She like passes out. And a doctor is able to find that there's a tumor on her brain that can cause like psychosis and like where you start seeing visions and stuff. So she's thinking maybe that's the source of her visions, and it's not that she's like psychic or anything. She's just got a brain tumor. And while they're there, John finds a mystery, of course, as is the way. But because Zed can't help, he kind of makes Manny help. Manny's not happy about it. He's dragging his feet. He was useful once, and like that was already too much for him. And so he's like dragging his feet along, but he helps. And John figures out that actually the doctor who found the tumor is the monster in this episode. I think the dude made up the tumor. I didn't write this down, but God, I wish I had. One way or another, Zed's still around, and the visions are still happening, and the doctor was the bad guy. And truly, is there any more stuff necessary? John's doing his work. This is the final episode of the season. And to tell you that I didn't expect this to be the final episode would be an understatement. I literally had no idea it was the final episode going into it. I was like, wow, these things are really kicking up. Like, there's probably like 2 or 3 episodes left. Like, whoa. This is the final episode. There was a 14th episode that was unproduced, that was not made. But this is the final aired episode of this season. And there is a bounty on John's soul. And Papa Midnight has come to collect, to trade John's soul for his sister, who's still down, dead and everything, and he wants to. And honestly, most of this episode is just John fighting with Papa Midnight and them talking about how the darkness is rising and everything is getting bad. And it really feels like not the final episode, which makes sense that there's a 14th unproduced episode, even though I'd expected it to be like 4 episodes left. Like, there's a lot. The very end of this episode, they've been fighting this one creature, and we see Papa Midnight talking to, they don't show who he's talking to, obviously. That's spoilers. Talking to somebody about the price on John's head and how hard this is going to get, and are you sure you want this, and there's rising darkness this, rising darkness that, and it's obvious he's talking with the person who is behind the rising darkness, which is Manny, the fucking angel. The whole time he's talking to Manny, and Manny's like, we'll have the darkness. He's like, talk about it, and then fucking flies off in the final. Manny's been behind the rising darkness. He's been doing this while trying to get John to fight against it. I bet shit John's been doing hasn't even been fighting against it, but it's been helping the fucking darkness rise. And but that's it. The final shot is Manny flying back up into heaven. That's it. That's the whole show. I cannot express to you how angry I shot up. Like, it left, and then instead of next episode, I was like, oh, when I saw Manny, and then it didn't say next episode, and then it just, you know how Netflix, when you end like a series, or actually no, this was on Amazon Prime. When you end, there's credits, and it like suggests more things to watch, and I was like, wait, that's the end? I fucking shot up. I'd been laying on my couch at this point because I was a little tired, but I was like, grasping my pearls at the Manny reveal, and then I shot up when it was like, that's it. I knew this was one season going in, and I didn't expect to be this mad about it. It's so good. And they set all this up. There's this rising darkness. There's more creatures. And I don't know if this gets resolved. I know in season 4 of The Arrow, John Constantine shows up to help with a spell. I had watched that years ago. I've mentioned before in this Arrowverse rewatch that I watched it a long time ago, but I don't remember a lot of it. And that's partially why I'm straight up, I'm rewatching most of this. This has been the first actual new media I've consumed for this project. So I know John Constantine shows up, and I know he does a thing, and he doesn't mention a Rising Darkness. And I know he eventually shows up in Legends of Tomorrow as like a regular in the cast. I don't know if he talks about the Rising Darkness because that's at a point I haven't watched yet. And if all of this, the Resurrection Crusade, Zed's psychic abilities, the Rising Darkness, if none of this gets covered anywhere, I'm gonna lose my shit. I know there's an animated Constantine movie that has the same actor. I'm pretty sure it's part of the Arrowverse, so I'll be watching that when it comes, if it's part of the Arrowverse. But even if it's not, I'll probably end up watching it anyway, because, like, what? What's all this stuff in it? God, none of it matters, I guess. Why did they end this show? It was so good. Why did they end this show? But anyway, that's Constantine for you. You can watch Constantine without knowing anything about the Arrowverse. It's actually kind of wild that it exists in the Arrowverse. First off, God's real in the Arrowverse. Angels, real. Demons, real in the Arrowverse. We already got metahumans. We got actual angels. We got demons. We got spirits. We got monsters. They're everywhere. They're here. Hallelujah. Lord, praise be the Lord. Why is that? It's wild that this is all in the shade. That's Constantine. Please watch the show if you haven't. It's so fucking good. And we'll check back in with John when he shows up in Arrow and then Legends of Tomorrow. And hopefully that animated movie is part of the Arrowverse. I really hope it is, because I need answers. I need them now. Thank you. And good night. Please, if you're interested in more content, watch more things on our channel. If you randomly decided to watch the entirety of this episode and you've not seen any of my other Arrowverse content, please head on back. I got Arrow Season 1, 2, and 3 already up. Flash Season 1. Oh, I've got a few of the movies. I'm doing the movies, the DCEU movies as well. Got a couple of those up already. Go check them out. Check out some other stuff on the page. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And I will see you all later. See you next time I do the Arrowverse. Bye.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching.
You can check out our website for all the content we produce.
Clicking all those YouTube buttons makes it so you see more content from myself and the other amazing creators at Kai's Corner Productions. All donations help us produce more stuff like that for you.
See you guys in the next one. Peace.